Hello everybody and welcome. This is the competitive Worms Armageddon podcast. It is the pilot episode, so what is going to happen, let me just hide the walrus's cam for a moment. So what's going to happen is this is like a segmented show where we just go through a lot of interesting things and then we have an interview with a player of the community at the end. So the first thing on the agenda, also hello Mablak, sorry.
What's up? Hey, co-host here.
So since this is the first episode, it's not going to be perfect, so apologise if there's any little mistakes while we get things going, but we hope that you enjoy this. We've put a lot of work into it. So the first thing on the agenda is we're going to talk about what's going on in WormNET Today. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is we have approved a new league idea, which is going to have a £100 prize pool every season, and every season is exactly 2 months long. So if that's successful, the prize pool will continue to grow as we get more income from streams and funding from other people who are enjoying it and want to support it. So how this league is going to work is each season there are going to be 3 different schemes, and it's based on the 3 different types of gameplay and, well, my idea. So we've got artillery schemes, which are schemes that focus on your mechanical skills, accuracy and consistency with artillery weapons. So for example, B&G, Grenade Wars, Hysteria, stuff like that. Then we have the physical schemes, which are your sort of schemes that focus on your mechanical skills using utilities and mobile weapons such as ninja rope, jetpack, super sheep race and stuff like that. Things where you need to use your reflexes and hand-eye coordination to beat your opponent. And then the third type of scheme will be strategic, which sort of speaks for itself. That's your sort of outwit your opponent sort of scheme, like elite, intermediate, chaos, team 17, etc. So for the first season, the 3 schemes will be Grenade Wars for artillery, Big Rope Race for the physical, and Elite for the strategic. Now, what will happen in the playoffs is there will either be 4 players or 8 players, depending on how many players, well, make the playoffs, because there will be requirements, how many games you've played and your win percentage. So when it comes to the playoffs, it'll just be you play every scheme. Doesn't matter if you win 2-1 or 3-0, you need to play every scheme. So you can think of that as practice against the best players there are. So the finals for that will also be streamed, and it's £75 for the winner of the playoffs and £25 for the runner-up. And the first season starts on the 1st of March 2024. Now, here's one of the things that a lot of people are interested in with this. So every season, the 3 schemes will change. It will always be a combination of artillery, physical, and strategic. So we could have seasons like aerial, jetpack race, chaos, boom race, super sheep race, abnormal, just anything that the community votes for. And each season, there will be votes by the community, so the community will be basically picking that each season. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So if you want to find out more about that, go over to TUS. You can see the link at the top of the page right now.
It's like chess boxing. You got to master everything all at once.
Yeah. It's good that, because it's a lot of, I saw over the years, a lot of players complain about having, that there's sort of too much choice or not enough to do. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting. It gives a chance for all the TFL players to get involved, as well as the classic old school players, because that's always been quite a great divide between the players. Is we don't want to play rope race, we don't want to play roper, we don't like B&G. Fair enough. But now you've got a chance for all these players to sort of come together and actually compete against each other. And the whole point is that you don't always get what you want, and not to be selfish, we can all take part in the schemes that we all enjoy. And it gives you 2 months to practice one type of scheme that you can progressively get better at that over the season until the playoffs. And by the time the playoffs come, that's the most important part. That's where it's all decided. And that's where, in my opinion, the true all-rounder will be decided. So everybody seems to be excited for it. So, yeah. What do you think, Mablak?
It's going to be cool. I might take part. I have limited time, but it's always exciting when a new league comes out. Like, it feels like that's usually a time like when a lot of people get interested. Because I remember like when other leagues first started, like First Blood, Worms Armageddon League, TUS. You got like a flood of people like coming back because they're like, okay, I have a chance to like get to the top, and it's good to like have sort of like league resets and that sort of thing. But yeah, it sounds exciting. Yeah. It's always cool that there's like new leagues even after over 25 years of the game.
So the other things that we would like to talk about, so as far as TUS Cups goes, there's the Academy of Artillery number 2. We're in the finals now, the grand finals. So we have actually, wait, am I tripping? Oh yeah. The Walrus beat Rocket in the, so he's won. No, sorry, he's going into the grand final. Sorry, I'm tripping. And Tita versus Sensei. Tita won that, so he's in the final. So it's Tita versus the Walrus, and we've yet to see them organise that match. So that's going to be an exciting match. We also have the Honorin Baitor Cup. I actually completely forgot about that match because it was Rafka versus Senator. I think I've lost track of that. But anyway, we've got the Abnormal Cup, we've got a Bungee Race Cup that Snipers just hosted. There's a cash prize for that as well. We've got a No Rules BNG thing that's more of a novelty experiment. So yeah, there's challenges on TOS as well. But now talking about clanners. So what's been happening sort of this year so far in clanners, the Walrus and Baffle created a clan Mad Villains with their alter aliases Quasimodo and Victor Von. I joined In Cold Blood. Saint and Wolfgang joined Supremo Tribunal Federal. Lidan Havro Wololo, if I'm saying that correct. Mook and Chiwaze joins Destiny's Force. And Peja's back active again playing with TDC. So clanners are actually starting to get a little bit more momentum now, so that's quite exciting. I'd love to see you back playing clanners, Mablak.
Oh yeah. Wait, I thought ICB was like intercontinental, like ballistic missile.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I was just assuming. But yeah, it's like most of the clans seem like a threat right now. It's like everybody has like some like old school players, some people who are specialists in like something or other. Yeah. Looks tough. Like, we don't have a lot of activity on TUS, but it's one of those things, like, all it would take is, like, 1 or 2 clans, and then, like, things could pop off.
Yeah. Well, I'm planning on getting really active again myself, but I've been busy with all this. But so on to one of the other more important things regarding the league. There's going to be a lot of changes happening to some of the schemes. So the aerial scheme in the all-round league is now best of 3 instead of best of 1. However, you can agree to best of 1 if you like. But what Monkey Island is thinking of doing, pardon me, is the same thing that they've done to Team 17, where you can make it, it's intermediate, where it's best of 3, but if you want to play best of 1 and your opponent refuses, you can force them to play best of 1, but they get the first turn, which makes it a sort of compromise for you both. And everybody just immediately went, that's a great idea. We like that. So everyone liked that. So that's something that we're potentially going to implement to all the best of free schemes. Like that. So the non-controversial changes that nobody seems to disagree with is we've removed teleport from Big Rope Race because it serves no purpose. In TUS Free League, Jetpack Race needs phased worms because the worms can block tight passages, so we're adding phased worms. TUS Free League Golf needs the same thing because shots can bounce off worms on pads and block shots entirely in some cases. TUS Free League Bungee needs phased worms as well because worms can block access to the bungee and also potentially anti-sync. TFL Capture the Flag is a broken scheme. It needs complete rework. It's potentially the worst, most unbalanced scheme in the league. The turn time's too long and standard maps can be won in 2 turns with wind, so that needs a serious makeover. Walk for Weapons in TFL does not contain all the weapons that are used on many of the maps, so that needs to be changed and updated. The TFL Boom Race making the standard SDET and LDET, and that stands for shooting doesn't end turn and loss of control doesn't end turn. And that means you can basically, instead of taking one shot and that's it, other turn, you can fire as many as you want, and it's all about what you can do in the allotted time. Some of the more controversial changes are to do with like BNG. That's a big argument, so we won't really go into that. But if you want to check it out, you can go over to TUS forums and check that out. The ongoing Big Rope Race scheme discussion seems to be a few proposals, and it's using LDET, Rubber Worm, and using milliseconds or full second ties to decide who gets the win. There's also a TUS Team 17 scheme discussion. The All-Round League and TUS Team 17 League have different schemes right now, and people are getting a little bit frustrated with the differences. Forget like firing the bow, because the bow and arrow has different damage, and they forget which scheme they're playing on. So this is something that's proposed. It might never happen, but it's things that people are hopefully trying to change. That's really everything for the changes that we have so far. We need to move on because we need to wrap this bit up quickly, but so a few things. Dead Code is still leading TTL overall. Blitzed is still absolutely dominating TUS overall. There's actually a good burst of activity in TFL with Baffle, Triad, TheWalrus and others playing. So overall, things are finally, after years and years and years of inactivity, we're all coming together and we're all making it a great active game again. So we're getting there. We just need to keep going and spreading the word. So the TUS Team 17 League Season 7 playoffs have started. The semi-finals. So we have Dead Code versus Chicken 2-3. So Dead Code is the number 1 seed versus the number 4 seed Chicken 2-3. And Senator, the number 2 seed versus Korean Red Dragon, the number 3 seed. And the deadline for that is Sunday the 17th of March this year, obviously. So Mablak has a few other interesting bits to explain as well.
Yeah, so in speedrunning news, there's not an insane amount going on the Worms Armageddon speedrun scene. We still have Ruffle Bricks doing tons of deathmatch speedruns, and we have a new entry in our all missions category. So the Russian player Sovdan just came in with a 1 hour, 19 minute, 11 second time, taking 3rd place in the Worms Armageddon like all missions, any percent category, which is just the category where you beat all the missions as fast as possible. You don't have to like complete anything else. And your medal number doesn't matter. So that's like a really good time. Cause I mean, like my first speedrun was like maybe around that time. And that was like, I don't know, over 2 or 3 years ago. So, I mean, like the time only gets lower from there. So that's like a super strong start for him. And of course, if anyone wants to learn the Worms Armageddon speedrun, we have a Worms Armageddon speedrunning Discord, and we have like a detailed like learning guide for all the missions. Aside from that, we have Chaos News. So if you go to chaosleague.com, KAOS league.com, the current league standings, we got Master has actually stolen number 1. At the moment, yeah, but they're pretty closely matched. Case is at number 2. They both have 13 victories this season. And then below that, it's Abegod and me with 11 victories. And yeah, it's actually really, really tight at the top 4 in Chaos right now. Yeah, I not liking this. Not liking this. But that's part of the fun though. It's like, yeah, it really is fun. Trying to like see something that has a really high skill ceiling like Chaos, which is just, chaotic. And learning. There's like just a shitload to learn about Chaos. So yeah. We got Master, then Kays, then Abegod, then I'm at number 4, then Yago at 5, Dream at 6. And we've had some really good recent games lately. So yeah, we've had let's see, recently, so Mega Adnan just beat Danny 3-0. Yesterday I beat Hal 9000 3-0. And then somehow, Master beat Dream 3-0, which he's a wild card. Sometimes he'll beat people 3-0 and then sometimes not so much. Yago beat Laklak 3-0. And Wingcat barely squeaked out a victory against StJimmy 3-2 recently. And then another really good match this week was Kays versus me. Kays beat me 3-1. And it was he pulled off some really amazing moves. So I would say watch that one if you haven't. And we have, I believe you can just see it at chaosleague.com, looking at the latest streams. And I think that's it on my end for news, if we want to move on.
Yeah, so now we're getting to the really exciting stuff. We have a bunch of tutorials made by yours truly, myself and Mablak. So yeah, for the next sort of half an hour, 45 minutes, just sit back and enjoy. So yeah, hope you enjoy these. So this is a competitive showcase, 5 roughly minutes of the best turns from all the different events that we offer over the past, current season, so enjoy.
way out of control.
Come on! Fire!
Let his friend through it, the latest device. Boggy B went and got it, against all advice.
Fatality!
His tail was split, and his energy lost. How many more will this dreaded war cost? Then came the nuke and the disease tumbling down. If the bug didn't get you, you'd probably drown. But the worms battled on through hunger and pain, living to fight, just to better again. And now it's the curtain call, the final onslaught. No better bullet to possibly have fought. But spare a thought for Boggy and whip it his friend.
Blood! Up! 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 Oop! Come on! Reinforcements!
Hello, this is Useful Bits and Bobs for Worms Armageddon. Did you know about cam lock? If you hold Control and press the home button, you can lock the game cam so your worm is always centred. An example of how this is useful can be seen in big rope race with larger resolutions, so you can always have a clear view of upcoming sections in any direction. Just press home again to return the camera to normal. Did you know about scroll lock? If you have the default cam active and you press scroll lock, it will lock the camera in place wherever you want. This is great in many situations. For example, in B&G I use the scroll lock so I can concentrate on my future shots while my opponent is busy pressing buttons, which usually focuses on their worm. Also, I use the scroll lock to measure distance between worms because the resolution that I use doesn't cover the whole screen, so it's a sort of good way to see how far the worms are apart if you measure edge to edge. It's also great in Hysteria for jetpack suicides. Just activate scroll lock, line up the edge of the screen with the worm you want to attack, and it's an easy visual marker to get very precise grave damage. You can plop and push worms with ease. One thing to note though, this will not work if you already have cam lock active. You need to have the default cam active in order to enable. If you were unaware, you can cycle through 6 different background styles using the insert key. These are all useful in their own way if you're creative enough. Black background with minimal water visibility was popular back in the early days, specifically in the Roper scheme. When creating a map, you can set water drop by right-clicking on the water level bar. Once activated, worms will not drown, but weapons will. You can ghost grenades through walls. You can also skim bazooka. Number 3, which I call scan lines, I use these in BNG to measure the height difference between players. When streaming CWT and other matches, I like to use the 5th and 6th background as I just think they look nice for the viewers. Speedrunners also use the 6th background to measure specific turns to manipulate flames. Here's a short demo clip from Mablak.
We want to time our shot and press space on the very last frame where we can still see it, so right here. So if we do that, shoot the Uzi, the flames go down, kill the guard.
He will also be uploading a full tutorial on this in the near future. Do you ever get kicked from games and you don't really know how to host your own? Did you know that there's a bot on WormNET that can host games for you called Hosting Buddy? You can use this bot by typing !host in the name of a scheme, and then Hosting Buddy will host it for you. Once in the game, you can use the commands to manage the game. !close shuts the game so no one else can join. !help shows you a bunch of options. !color changes the team color. !worms changes the number of worms. I'm pretty sure that we all know by right-clicking the mouse in the game opens the weapons panel. What some may not know are the keyboard hotkeys F1 to F12. And also the tilde key for utilities. Did you know you can cycle through the visible team information with the delete key? This is useful when playing team matches or gaining more visibility for precise shots. You can also set transparency for team names by holding Alt and pressing delete. The advanced options in the game have some very useful settings. Skip intro if you want the game to start ASAP, and offline rope knocking. By default, rope knocking is impossible. You need to enable it to activate it. This is great for practicing offline rope knocks. They do feel very obvious, but some beginners may not be in a hurry to look. And that's bits and bobs. Wormkit Modules. Long story short, Wormkit Modules are a way for us to benefit from more than the standard game itself. There are many modules out there, ranging from modules which customize everything from how we play the game to how we see the game. In the past, we had to install the Wormkit module software, which enabled us to load the modules into the game. But fortunately, along the way, developers included this feature into the game, so we no longer need to use a module loader. So it's quite as simple as downloading the file, putting it in your folder. Mostly. So a few of my favourites are Flamin' Health Bars, Super Front End, and Remap Keys. Remap Keys is the module that we will be looking at today. So, what is Remap Keys? Remapping keys is a standard feature of most video games. Remapping keys gives us the ability to rearrange our key layouts to whatever feels more comfortable or efficient so that you can get the most out of your gaming experience. Unlike old third-party key remappers, Remap keys is an internal key remapper. It gives us the power to change keys without losing latency. You can find this module by visiting https://worms2d.info/wk remap keys. On the right side of the page, you will find the download button. Personally, I like to open with and then send the files directly to my Worms Armageddon directory. You can, however, copy this or save the file and extract it manually if you prefer doing it that way. Make sure to place the files in the Worms Armageddon directory. That is the same folder that the game exe file is located. In order to use remap keys, open the remapkeys.ini file located in the main Worms Armageddon directory. Remember, it's the same folder the game exe file is located. In this file, you will write what keys you wish to edit and which keys will activate them. It's very straightforward and easy to use. You need to use the right code names for each key. You can find these on the WK Remap Keys webpage. You have a code, a symbolic name, and a description. This is what my personal remap keys file looks like. When roping, since I am right-handed, I like to use WASD for arrows and tap the space bar with my right hand. I also use B for bazooka, N for grenade, and M for mine. That's easy for me to remember because it's bazooka, nade, mine. You can set it however you wish though. You can use a different key completely or even use multiple keys for the same action. For example, some players like using multiple space bars while roping for a technique called finger rolling. But we don't need to go into that just now. Here are a few examples of how remap keys is useful for me.
Resistance is futile. Supplies detected. Implemented. Time critical. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, one more thing. Make sure to activate Wormkit Modules if you want to use them. You can do this by going to the options, clicking on Advanced, and there it is, Load Wormkit Modules. Make sure to check this box if you wish to enable Wormkit Modules, and uncheck if you wish to only use the standard game settings. And that is Remap Keys, folks.
What's up everybody, Mablak here. Welcome to part 2 of the Worms Armageddon roping tutorial series. For this one, we're going to look at kicks, and in the first tutorial we covered all the basics, scrolls, spikes, and shadows. So if you want to rope along with me, you can download this map and put it in the right folder. That's all in the description. So what's a kick? A kick is when we bounce off the ceiling like this, just to get the maximum possible speed. And the cool thing is, when you do this, you can pretty much guarantee that you're going to be at max speed. So it's a great way to get speed super fast. And let's just look at single kicks to start off with. So to do a kick, you're going to want to build up some horizontal speed first. And here's a great way to do this. Start at a high part of the map, aim at a pretty good angle towards the ceiling, and we're going to fling ourselves once to the right, and then we're going to pull ourselves into the ceiling and bounce off, just holding up and right. So fling myself once, hold up and right, and fling. And you want to fling yourself around when you're horizontal. So you're trying to aim and make your worm about as horizontal as possible, or even a little bit above the horizontal. If you happen to do a kick and you go sort of down like that, it's okay and you can recover from that. But it tends to be a little bit better if you can actually go a little bit above the horizontal like that, especially because that means the angle of reattachment is going to be more forward instead of like backwards. So that's generally going to be the way you want to do it. And you might notice with kicks, it's pretty hard to do them unless you have a little bit of speed first. So if I was to just start here and just aim my rope straight up, well, it's really hard to do a kick. I can't really pull myself into the ceiling. One thing you can also do, I can aim almost as horizontally as possible. Then I'm definitely going to have enough momentum to do a full powered kick. Another way to build up speed at the start, if you don't have very much, you can just extend your rope using down, pull it in with up and left, and up and right, and eventually you will have enough speed. But typically you kind of want to fling yourself first, and then you'll have enough momentum to do a kick. So one thing I'd recommend practicing, just start here, do a little fling forward, hold up and right, fling yourself back, then you're about where you started from, and just do this over and over again, and you'll get more of a feel for like when to release. So you can do it on the left side of the map here, and I would say also try it on the right side of the map. So same thing, face to the left, do a little fling, hold up and left, and then try to release yourself about as horizontally as possible, and just make your way back here. So just do this a handful of times, and that's going to improve your kicking. There's so many ways to do a basic kick, and I'm going to start with the easiest. Typically, you're going to have the easiest time doing kicks when your rope is as long as possible. So what I'm going to do here, fling myself once to the left, then I'm going to hold up and left, starting to do a kick. As I get to the ceiling, I'm going to let go of the up arrow, and I'm just going to be holding left. And the reason for that is so my rope can stay long. On the way out, I'm going to hold up and right. So the whole thing looks like this. And if I'm doing a kick bouncing off the right side, same thing, just hold up and right. As I hit the ceiling, I'm just holding right. And then on the way out, I'm going to hold up and left and do the fling. So as you can see, my rope is staying really, really long as I'm doing these kicks. And these ones aren't the most impressive looking. They're really easy to do. I would say for practice, just keep doing these as long as you can in the center area. But these kicks are perfectly serviceable, and they do get you to max speed. So you can kind of control exactly how far away from the top of the map you want to be. If you're doing these kicks, there's very little risk of falling, which is one of the nice parts about them. Now, typically the fastest way to do a kick, if I'm facing to the right like this, hold up and right all the way through hitting the ceiling, and then after you hit, just change it to up and left, and then just kind of release about at the horizontal. Or if I'm facing the other way, same thing, hold up and left, and then just hold up and right after you hit the ceiling. And that's basically the most difficult and sort of the best and most interesting looking way of doing a kick. It is a bit hard though, but the cool thing is you can kind of control your distance away from the ceiling. One way to do that is to just press up exactly as much as you need to, and you can kind of release the up arrow whenever you want to in the process of doing a kick. So depending on how hard or easy you want to make it, how safe you want to be, you can kind of release that up arrow either on the going into the kick phase or the going out of the kick phase. Bad news, your kick just got interrupted. Good news, you wanted it to be interrupted. So if I'm coming along and I bump into this thing right as I'm going to do a kick, you might think this is just getting in the way, this is interference. But you can bounce off this little pillar and actually turn it into a kick. So as you're going along, just hold up and right, and you can just pull it all the way up into the ceiling and then just keep going. Or if you're coming from the left side and I'm flying along and I bump into this thing, I can just keep going and turn it into a kick. So I'm just calling this a bump kick. It's never really had a name before, which is weird. But any obstacle that you kind of bump into, you can kind of turn it into a kick as long as you just prepare ahead of time, mentally prepare yourself. Sometimes bump kicks can be super useful in rope races too, usually only if you have enough room though. So as this worm is rounding the corner, by attaching high up here and bouncing off this little stair step, you can do a bump kick, and that actually gets you quite a bit of speed at this part. Double your pleasure, double your fun, double your kicks. So to do a double kick, all you have to do is bounce off the ceiling 2 times in a row and then launch your kick. So a super easy way to do that would kind of be keeping your rope long and just going like bounce, 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 bounce. So there's a pretty easy way to do that if you don't hold up very much and you kind of just hold left and right to whatever extent you can. You can do that if you get a good amount of momentum to start with, but that's kind of like the easy way to do a double kick. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm pretty much just holding left and right as I do those ones. So doing a harder double kick and one that looks cool would kind of just be holding up and right the whole way through. So like this, 1, 2. And that's a lot harder to do. You do have to get the timing for that, but it's actually a pretty useful timing to get. Or if I'm facing left, bouncing off to the left side first, I would hold up and left, 1, 2. And you do need to give yourself quite a bit of rope to start with. If you do it like starting from here, it could be pretty tough. 1, 2. You can still do it, but it really depends. You kind of gotta start with a good amount of rope to have a better chance of success. Now, it's important to note that a double kick is kind of a luxury. You pretty much never actually need it. It's mostly something that just looks cool, but there are cases in rope races where it can actually save you time. It's just that oftentimes the risk isn't worth the reward. But if you have a long straightaway section like this, down to the right here, it may actually be worth trying, at least if you really, really need to shave off a second or something. So if you want to do a double kick in an area where you don't have much space, there is kind of a way to do it. You just want to get muscle memory down of an exact velocity that your worm has and rope length. So if you can get the same rough velocity of your worm, going a certain speed and a certain distance from the ceiling, then you can actually kind of get a routine for doing a double kick every time, where maybe you just hold up and right. Now, once again, doing these double kicks in these tiny spaces, really kind of an advanced strat, so it's not something you have to work on right away, but it is cool to know and just fun to mess around with every now and then. But let's take a look at sort of the physics of the game. So one reason that this is so difficult to do is just the fact that the game runs at 50 frames per second. So take a look at what happens when I just get my worm pressed up against the ceiling, and I'm just rotating back and forth, and we're just going 1 frame at a time. So see how I'm just jiggling back and forth like this? What that means is, just due to the limited frame rate of the game, there's only 2 directions that my worm can possibly fly out in, just from this angle right here. So if I extend my rope a little bit, and I'm still just kind of jiggling back and forth as fast as I can on the ceiling, you might notice I have a few more angles that I can fly out at. And if I get a little bit longer, you can see a little more clearly. So what? 1, 2, 3, 4. So my angles are a little less limited. And basically, the further my rope gets, the more angles I'll have to choose from, and the more likely it is I'll actually be able to fly in a horizontal line, which is what I want. But the faster you're going and the closer you are to the ceiling, the harder it's going to be to actually fly in a horizontal line, unless, once again, you sort of have everything pre-planned and you're kind of executing the same move over and over again. So like if you have the same rope length, the same rope angle, and the same initial velocity, you can kind of get a routine for doing a double kick, even despite that limitation of having a limited number of angles that you can fly out at. And as the rope gets much longer, you can kind of see, like, okay, there's a lot of angles I can have. There's at least several angles I can fly out at where I'm actually going to fly horizontally. Question: can we go further? Answer: oh yes, we can do a triple kick. So what you're going to want to do, stand about here on the map, just aim up and right a bit, and hold up and right. And the timing's going to be really hard, but it's going to go like 1, 2, 3. We're going to hit the ceiling 3 times and release. And really hard to get on your first try, but let's try. So yeah, it can be pretty fun to try and see how many triple kicks you can get in a row. And of course, this is the hard way, just holding up and right the whole time. You can kind of ease up on holding that up arrow if you want to make it just a little bit easier. And triple kicks are kind of a luxury. You're not ever gonna super need them. They're more of a stylistic thing. So good for warmers, but you're not gonna ever have to bounce that many times. All right, it's time to try a few practice exercises with kicks where we're also incorporating other moves. A common combo would be kicks followed by scrolls. So what we can do here, just do a kick and then try to do 2 scrolls and do it into another kick. So it's gonna look something like this. So kick, 1, 2, kick, 1, 2, kick, 1, 2, kick, 1, 2. And you can do those as fast or slow as you're comfortable with. As you keep going, it'll get faster and faster. And you just want to try and see how long you can keep this pattern going. 1, 2. All right, here's another combo we can try, a kick into a spike. And you can do this pretty much anywhere on the map, but let's try it over here. So you just get to a high part of the map, aim forward a little bit, do a kick, and then try to do a spike right here. It can be a soft spike or a hard spike. Okay, so kick into a spike, and then you can just kind of fling yourself back up. Kick, spike. You can try it in the center of the map too. Start over here, we're kicking to the right. If you give yourself a lot of rope, you can do a better spike. And another combo to try, you can try a kick into a shadow. So I'm just going to kick to the left here and then try to follow it up with the shadow. Once again, easier if you have longer rope to try and practice these. And once you attach at the bottom, you can just quickly fling yourself back up. Now, at a super high level, you can check out Komodo, aka the Komodo, who has kicks into scrolls that are just super flat and super tappy. They look really awesome. And he uses both finger roll, which is where you alternate back and forth with your index and middle finger, and his own signature brand of two-handed tapping. Now there's another kind of kick which I'm just calling a bouncy multi-kick, because you can do a double kick, a triple kick, whatever with this method. You just pull into the ceiling with a lot of velocity, then just hold left or right, and you'll notice you keep going forever, so you can maintain your speed as long as you're close enough to the ceiling. And you can do a kick out of this if you just time it, just be like now, 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 as you're at the horizontal. And it's a bit difficult to do, but if you practice it, you can get the timing. And this is kind of cool to do for double kicks, triple kicks. You can go beyond that, but it's not quite as impressive if you just stay bouncing forever. And let's take a look at some of the bouncy kicks employed by Korean Red Dragon, who's a long-time prominent roper who is very stylish. There's a pretty advanced form of kick practice, which I just call the kick flurry. It's when you kick back and forth literally as fast as possible. It's something I picked up from Salty K9 back in the day. And sometimes you just kick holding left or right, sometimes you hold up and right, sometimes you hold no buttons at all, sometimes you toss in a double kick. You're basically just going insano mode on your kicks, and if you practice it, you will get faster and faster. But here's what it looks like. So yeah, it's really hard to do. You can do it more slowly at first, and sort of as you get faster at tapping, you can start to do it more and more quickly, but it's really just kind of a reflex thing. It's fun for playing warmers. You're not going to get a whole lot of like actual utility out of it, although it might just kind of generally improve your roping ability, but it's mostly just fun to do and looks cool. One could argue the ultimate form of the kick is the pixel kick. Now this is something that is totally down to luck, but if you just pull yourself into the ceiling with up and left and then just keep holding left, you'll start vibrating in place, and sometimes you can actually kick out from here. Most of the time you're just going to fall like this, but let's see what happens when I actually get it. So as you can see, these are very, very hard to get, and there was an old wormer named Valrin, who was kind of a legendary roper, and there was kind of a myth going around that he did, I don't know, like 40 or 50 pixel kicks in a row, which I think is impossible. This was before the time of replays, but there were a lot of old legends like that. Pixel kicks, as far as I know, cannot be timed, but they are kind of cool if you can get them. Now, as you can see right there, I did actually kind of time those ones, but those, I don't know if those could be qualified as pixel kicks. I was mostly just doing like a quad or quint. One last thing about kicks, you don't have to do them on a perfectly flat ceiling. You can do them on various parts of the map as long as you're on the underside of something. And it's good to practice them for various obstacles that you might encounter, because you won't always encounter a flat ceiling. So try downloading this map also in the description, and just get to the center of the map here, and just aim at this little thing, and I want you to try and do a kick to the right. So just hold up and left. And it's good to get the timing so that you go roughly horizontal. You can go a little bit up too, that's also fine. But it's just good to get used to timing things on non-flat surfaces. So we can also do kicks from various parts of the map here. We can do a kick from here like this. You can attach to this part and try to do a kick that just goes up and to the right. Like that. It's actually pretty hard to get it to go perfectly horizontal. And we can also attach to this part of the map. I would say try to do a kick that starts roughly here, and you attach to the right border of the map. You can even do bounces a couple times like this. That can even make the kick easier to do. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. This really just covered some of the very basics of roping. There's so many more moves to cover and just techniques in general. And if you want some more maps to practice on for rope racing, ropers, whatever, just go to tus-wa.com, the ultimate site. This is the longest running Worms League, and it's also a map and scheme database, along with other files that you might need. So if you go here and go to maps, you have a selection of rope race maps. You have like over 5,000. You also have ropers. You also have warmers. There are tons and tons of maps to practice on, and it's a good way to learn about new schemes also. And to organize games, you can definitely just hop onto WormNET, or you can come to one of the several Discords below. So I'll have links in the description. So I'll see you next time.
Right, hello everybody and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the tutorials and everything so far, and that concludes the first half of the competitive Worms Armageddon podcast. So what do you think, Mablak? Very good tutorial, thank you.
I think I have bored everyone enough at this point with roping knowledge. I think we got to get on to the main show. So we're interviewing legend, the man, the myth, the walrus.
Right. And it's which one is it? Is it that? Here we go. Hello, Walrus.
How's it going?
Hello there. Good. Hello. So we're going to have a little chat with the Walrus here, and probably play some games or whatever. So we've got a bunch of questions, and then if anybody in the chat has any questions they would like to ask this living legend, this beautiful, humble man, then just ask in the chat and we'll do our best to ask him. So take it away, Mablak.
All right. Yeah, so it's awesome to have you with us. Sorry to make you sit through all the previous stuff. I know you've been waiting in the wings. You're I know all this shit. Come on. But okay, first let's start with the first question. How many worms have you killed in your life?
Cumulatively? Oh my god, that's an incredible question, isn't it? God, it's insane to think about, right? Because there's several incarnations of my Worms career where I've had the game, then had a different PC. I mean, for anyone curious, I started playing in 97 and or 98 maybe with Worms 2, and I've had several Worms Armageddon installs, uninstalls, gone away, new PC. But I'm actually gonna pull up my current team right here. Let's see what I got from this last little bit, my statistics. And so this is probably in the last, I don't know, 5 to 6 years, but I got 8,350 worms killed.
Holy shit. I wasn't
That's
expecting an
pretty much
actual number
all-
there.
That's pretty much all online too. I'm not a big offline player. I know there's a lot of players that love to do challenges, that love to
Yeah.
play offline, practice offline. I get really bored practicing offline. Typically, I'll
Yeah.
get like 30 minutes in before I gotta
I see what you mean.
But yeah, I would imagine
It's-
if we're to extrapolate and maybe make a guess, I'd say clear of 25,000.
Oh, yeah, totally. Because it's like we all have teams that we like delete and then like reinstalls and stuff. So like probably 1,000 per year. So basically like enough to qualify as like a worm genocide. Basically, that's about the level that pros get to, I think.
Exactly. This is purely at Worms Armageddon too. I mean, I went fishing last week down in Florida. I took out a few more worms down there, so I'm constantly trying to up the numbers over time.
Right.
So many ways to pad those numbers.
So when did you start playing the game, Walrus? And did you start with Worms Armageddon, Worms 2, or Worms World Party?
Worms 2. Played offline. And I had a friend, and he had Worms 2 on his PC. And him and a few of my other friends had already been playing it. And it was all so interesting to me, the whole game, because you could create your own maps. They draw their own maps. It'd have like Battle Royale. You create your own schemes. And all of it was like completely new to me. But the thing that was like so cool, I felt that like drew me to Worms to begin with, was the physics of the game. Like the physics of the game was so cool. Like worms just blowing up, flying around, and it just seemed like total chaos. And we'd have so much fun playing like hot seat in his basement. It was probably 4 or 5 of us that would like swap in and play. So yeah, Worms 2 was my introduction. I probably didn't play online until, I don't know, 6 to 9 months after that, before I bought a copy for myself.
Did you have a burned disc? That's what I want to know. Because like I remember just playing Worms 2 over and over again on like, we were like so fascinated with just the ability to like copy discs at the time. Or did you have the legit?
No, I unfortunately I never owned a legit copy of Worms 2. It was all.
It's normal.
It was all. I remember just having, like, back in the day, we'd have like the compact disc sleeves, like the books, and I had like a book of just like 20 different like burned games. That I would play with the the Sharpie written name on it. That
Sharpie was crucial.
I didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't have money to buy a lot of these games, so we just burned the hell out of these things.
Yeah, good times. If only it were so simple today. But yeah, like that's I think a lot of people did start on Worms 2. And it's like a lot of us started on Worms 2 and then we're like, oh whoa, there's like a new Worms out. It's gonna be totally different. And then like we play Armageddon or World Party and we're like, okay, this is the same game, but it's still fun.
So none of you started with the original Worms?
No, I actually don't know that many people who started with Worms 1.
On the Game Boy.
Oh, the Game Boy. Okay. That's unusual. I feel like most people I talk to have started on Armageddon, World Party, or Worms 2, but I think Hextree might have said he started on Worms 1. He does some speedruns. Yeah, but Worms 1 is very clunky and like blocky and like it just doesn't have the like aesthetic charm,
And funny
it's
enough,
like so pixely.
I never even knew Worms 2 existed. It was, I remember the day because my friend asked me to go down to the local cyber cafe that had just opened. And I thought, cyber, that must be cool because I like the Terminator. So I went down expecting some sort of weird robotic thing, and it was just people sitting playing PCs, and I'd never seen the internet at this point. And I was walking along, and I remember the first person was playing Half-Life, the second person was playing a Diablo game, I think it was, and then the third guy was playing Worms Armageddon. I was like, oh, I remember that from the Game Boy. But anyway, it's Walrus's interview, so yeah.
Well, I think too is like an interesting part to note. I think just like reflecting back, You got to understand the time really that this all went on. I'd previously played maybe one game, direct dial-up. I played Command and Conquer with
Oh
like my
yeah.
next neighbor via dial-up previous to this, but like this was like one of the first like multiplayer games with a server where you could host games, jump into games. Really, in a lot of ways, the infancy of like people like creating their own websites, fan sites, sites with content from Worms 2 and Worms Armageddon. The advent of like Case's Ladder on Worms 2. There's just a lot of like resources like popping up to
What's going on?
their own clan sites on GeoCities, that you go to.
GeoCities, Homestead, Angel Fire, all the greatest build your own sites.
Yeah.
Did you play on Case's Ladder? So this was like a Worms 2 league. I think it was basically the main.
Looks like we're having a little bit of stream difficulty here on Discord.
Match has to report the match, which means that like if you lost a match, maybe you'll just get like upset and not even report it. But did you play
Yeah,
that?
no, it's so weird the whole system they had too.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty on Discord. Mablak and Walrus keep freezing out, so I've got no idea why. Worst thing comes to worst, we could restart the call, but it seems to be fine now.
Okay.
Right, next question.
Can you hear me, Kama?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you
I
now.
was going to say that Case's Ladder was the reporting system was definitely interesting. And to answer Mablak's question, yeah, absolutely, I played on Case's Ladder. I played on the BNG ladder, and I played on the Roper's ladder. I think record on the Roper's ladder was something incredibly abysmal. Maybe like 4 to 5 wins and like 50 losses, perhaps. Like really terrible. Like getting on and just being thumped by people just repeatedly, like at the very beginning.
Well,
because I got on
right.
the meta right away when I started playing. And I'm just playing against these like really experienced players that had like a year and a half head start on me. Not knowing what I'm doing, and then just being dumped on like repeatedly. I did a little bit better than the BMG ladder, but yeah, it was tough sledding for me at that point.
Well, you need to fail to get better. What is it? The next one, Mablak? First time, and he's gone again. Ah, there he is. Welcome back.
Let's see.
The first time.
Yeah, okay, yeah, the stream's good for me now. Okay. Yeah, so the first time you ever played online, Walrus, did you ever have that magic moment where you got bedazzled and just like pwned by a bunch of pro ropers? Like on Worms 2, like you log on, just your first game ever. Did you ever have that moment where like you're just like, this is insane what these people are doing?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, I even remember names. Like, I have a strange. I mean, even like my family, friends, partner, like all. Like you have like an insane memory for things that don't matter whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
And things I need to remember to do in my daily life. I always forget.
Yeah.
But I remember this player by the name of his name was People's Worm or PPLS Worm.
Whoa.
And I think he was pretty active on the ladder back then. But People's Worm would relentlessly kick the shit out of me on the Roper's ladder and talk shit to me the entire time. And I'd get so fired up at this People's Worm that he was like renting space in my head. Like I'd be at school and I'd be like, I need to fuck up that
Worm.
like, that guy.
Dude. That's like how it is, I think, with like you're a teenager and you're really into a game. It's like this is like the most important thing. But I think I experienced the same thing. I was like, okay, how do I win? How do I beat these people? But yeah, it's the first time that you play like online and you see like ropers just whizzing by, you sort of think, I mean, your first inclination might be these people cheat. these people are fucking hacking. But then like you think about it and you're like, do I know that for sure? And then like you try whizzing around on the rope and you're like, okay, I guess I can go fast. But then like you meet somebody and they like teach you like spikes or shadows or something. And you're like, oh my God, this is a whole thing.
Or a 23-minute video about kicks.
Right, exactly.
Exactly, and I mean, I think now we go about our daily lives, right? YouTube is a fantastic resource. You can find a DIY of basically anything, right? Anything you're interested in, you got a tutorial online. But back then, it's like this is almost like the Wild West. Information travels by word of mouth. There's no really centralized place where you're learning that you kind of like go into matches, you see someone do something, and you're like, oh, that's cool, I want to replicate that. And then you'd have to figure out how to do it, right? So a lot of times I think like roping in Worms 2, Worms Armageddon, it was like you wanted to get into lobbies with these experienced players to like further yourself. Because I have that same mindset that you had, Mablak. It's like, okay, I'm getting my ass kicked. This guy seems like he's hacking. Like, how can I, right? How can I get on that level? Like, how can I take the next step?
Oh, yeah. So, sorry, were you going to answer to that?
Oh no, yeah.
So, who are the first wormers you remember playing with?
Well, in all honesty, I remember like less about Worms 2. I didn't play it like a hell of a lot online compared to especially Armageddon. I think a lot of like my earliest games were like people that I played with a ton, ropers, because at the early part of my Worms Armageddon career, the games I was playing in was like almost exclusively rope. So I was playing like warmers, I was playing ropers, a lot of like the DWI guys, and the NBR guys. The One and Salty Canine are probably to this day like the two players I played with the most. Maybe some other ones over the years, but like I would say I was playing more Worms in the early 2000s than I did at any point. And those were the two guys that I played with the most. So it would just be kind of like these warmers act with lobbies of these guys, that everyone trying out different moves, everyone trying to emulate each other to a certain extent, trying to be the best roper possible. So it was a whole smattering of people, but I remember like these prominent figures too in leagues because I wasn't active in leagues at that point. And seeing these players like MPH, Shady Milkman,
Oh, yeah.
or like really good at CL2K, WACL, these kind of players, even the early like Haas guys and T5X guys, that were really good. And I couldn't really compete with any of these players. Like they were just like really, really strong players, and I was not like a strong league player at that point. But I remember playing with these, and they just had such a good grasp of scheme and the strategy, especially with a lot of these games, that I didn't possess at all. And like knowledge of the mechanics of the game and how the weapons worked. But I remember like every once in a while you'd play games and it'd be like people more or less pretty decent strategy skill, and then you run into these games where you just play someone and they just have totally kick the shit out of you, and you'd be like, wow, like their grasp of this game is insane. Like I can't even believe like the level that they're playing on. They're using strategies I've never seen before. But I think that's like how a lot of times how you like grow as a player is like it's all emulation, right? And see someone do something.
The first,
like, oh, okay, I can do that too, right? That makes sense.
The first player I remember absolutely like where I thought, oh, I'm actually getting good now. I think I've got a chance, and I got my ass kicked. Was, if you remember, the Sheriff. If you remember that player.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Was that NBR?
I can't remember if he was in NBR. He actually had another name as well. I can't remember though, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember Fiery Death. I think he was in Hose, Harvesters of Sorrow.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of these people like it is mysterious because it's like everyone needs someone to emulate from or learn from. How did these original people get so good without having like people before them? Because some of these were like, the first like major like roping fiends, and I don't know how they got good. I don't know how like I think Ilaz was one of the first ones who was like insane. I mean, Salty K9 was probably among the first. There was the One. There was Valorant. It's like I don't know how these people got good. Like, but I'm gonna learn from them.
So, what we're going to do, Mablak will get the next question, but sort of on the spot, we're going to get a little game, and it's something that we might actually get going since this is planned. This is actually a bit of a surprise. I'm actually putting these guys on the spot. So Mablak is very much considered the GOAT of the game. So every episode, we're going to have the person being interviewed challenge Mablak to a scheme of the audience's choice. So you've got 15 minutes to type in the chat what you would like to see these two players play, the Walrus versus Mablak. And then what we'll do is at 5:30 in 14 minutes, we'll get a few games with these guys. So yeah, Mablak, take it away, the next question.
I'm down. So, how about, what was the first clan that you joined?
Oh, great. That's a great question, and this might take me a second, but I think I'm going to get there. I was not in a clan on Worms 2. I was clanless. No one wanted my poverty level worming skills on their squad, unfortunately. But I'm pretty sure I got this one. I'm just trying to remember the clan leader's name. I got it. So it's AWA was my very first clan. And the clan leader was, it was like something along the line. Oh, Warlord was the clan leader.
He was good. He was very good.
Wormer that came from that, that was in that clan with me was Tenshu. I think you guys will probably remember Tenshu.
Yeah.
But and there's probably some other ones, but it was AWA. Was my very first clan. I remember like doing. And funny enough, the clan tryout was. I was the only non-roping scheme I liked was Battle Race, and I joined a battle race with Warlord and a bunch of other players, and I beat them all in a battle race, and they're like, all right, want to join the clan? Finally, someone wants me.
Yeah.
Like I'm in, boys, to the moon.
Everybody knows that you're cracked at Battle Race. But one thing that I'm trying to remember was, there was War God and Warlord. Were these two different people? Because War God was...
I think they're both Canadian. I know both of them very well. I played a lot with War God. So War God was more of like a roper, TTRR roper. Warlord was kind of like an all-arounder. And I don't know that Warlord was active super anytime after like maybe 2001, perhaps. So I think he was pretty short-lived. I don't know that anyone would even remember him, but he was the clan leader of that first clan.
Well, so far there's only been one vote, and that's Bungie Race. So, unless we get any more votes, well, we've got Russian Roulette for one vote as well, but I don't even know what that is. But we could do both. So, yeah, if you want, what scheme would you like to see these two guys play? But so this is a good one, Walrus. How did you get roped into joining NBR?
Oh boy! All right, get roped in. Little play on words there. NBR was actually the clan that I always wanted to join. Like it was at the top of the pantheon, basically. And I played a lot with. Okay, I'm just like, this is funny that we're talking about this. It's like I'm trying to remember a lot of the names. Red Death, Molson were the clan leaders. I played a lot more with Molson, Jesus Lizard, and what was it? Silent Mime. I played with Silent Mime, probably known as like one of the greatest trolls of all time. I think he spent more time in the lobby trolling people than he actually did like roping. That's what he's kind of famous for. But I played a lot with Salty K9, all my they were like the best ropers on WormNET that I saw, like the best group of like trick ropers almost, which is like mostly what I did, warmers, that sort of thing. So I always wanted to join NBR, and I think I finally got invited by like Molson at some point during one of these like warmers, and I was like ecstatic, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic. This is as high as I could ever get on WormNet, for me at the time, like, because I had no conception of like leagues or competitive at that point. That was just like high as you could possibly ascend as a roper. So
Yeah, in a lot of ways it still is, because it's like, I mean, there's not a lot of like clans that do like warmers or have that as their specialty now, even though that was kind of the main thing back in the day, like early 2000s. Like, among all the different schemes, like just being good at roping and being a good warmer, we kind of thought of that as like that's the highest level of warming, which leaves out a lot of the game. But it's like, NBR was always one of the top roping clans, which, if anybody doesn't know,
they were the top
ropers.
No other clan is even close to NBR for rope. They literally have like, out of the 50 best ropers of all time, they've pretty much got about 40 of them. Something like that. It's insane. But that is the clan that people would try to get joining. So who were some of your first Worms influences, Walrus?
Oh, that's a really great question. War God was it's funny we're talking about War God, but War God was one of those guys. And a lot of them, at the end of the day, you got to look at like time zones. In my life at that particular time, like I would have been in 2000. I would have been, 16 years old. So I'm going to school, during the day, and I'm playing during like North American hours in the afternoons to evenings. So like most of these players that I'm interacting with, I'm missing out on mostly all of Europe at all times. So I didn't play with a lot of like Europeans a lot, except like players like Komodo, who's like this fucking night owl that like plays all night. And stuff with me and Como would end up playing like at night in my hours. He'd just be playing all night like crazy. But mostly like North American influences, like these good USA ropers like Salty Canine, The One, War God in Canada, Volrin as well as these like BS ropers, which for people that don't know is Brazilian Soul. And there's this big North America Brazil divide back then, almost like these we look down on the Brazilians and the Brazilians would talk shit to us. And I remember like having a rivalry with some of the Brazilian Soul guys like Pingium and Maleo and Spider.
But it's like they were all good.
Good over time, but there was just this rivalry of like North versus South almost, which is really interesting.
There kind of was, there was a country divide for sure. But the Brazilians, like, even though like sometimes they would talk shit and then like, North Americans would talk shit back, they were like totally good. They were like amazing, especially that Brazilian Soul clan. Like, they were all like kind of legendarily good usually at winning, more so, like winning ropers and stuff.
Really, really good at roper, like unbelievable. I was not the level of them. I mean, I would say it trended more towards like these North American players were more interested in these like warmers and like trick roping, and Brazilian Souls like really good at like competitive 2v2 rope, and would really walk over a lot of the American players at the end of the day.
They really would. But yeah, War God though, I do remember him. He was an amazing rope racer. As far as Canadian players, do you remember Pi? He was also like
for sure. I played with Pi a lot.
Yeah, he was an extremely good rope racer too. He made some good rope race maps, and he was like, I think he sort of specialized in extensions, which is another like whole thing I got to cover for roping tutorials, like extending that rope upward, doing those climbs. But yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of active like Canadians at that point that I played a lot with. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Lex too. I played a lot with Lex. He was
Another amazing one.
we were in a few clans together, both before and after. I think we were in an OTP and in Bong together, which was a short-lived clan I started. But yeah, there's like a lot of just like Canadian and USA players that I played with over time. I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of them. Jay Moberg. Was,
Moberg, yeah.
Moberg.
I
See,
played
I
a lot
always
with
said
Jay
Moberg.
Is it J Moberg or is it Jamoberg?
That's how I used to pronounce it, Jamoberg. Well,
Yeah,
sorry,
right.
just to interrupt for a quick second, the vote is up, so there's 5 schemes to choose from. Make a vote and these 2 legends will play that in 5 minutes.
It was Jay Moberg because I forget what his first name was, but it did start with a J. So he was one that used his actual name online.
Okay.
Right, so I don't know whose question it is. Oh yeah, it's yours, Mablak.
Okay. Yeah, next one. Would you care to explain your team name? I believe it's Balls Deep in Sheep. Is that the kind of thing that you're into?
Oh my god, this is like the best question, isn't it?
We have your parents on the other line. We're gonna patch them in for this one.
Balls Deep and Sheep. Oh my god. Well, of course, like Worms Armageddon offers, and it's such a unique game because of this, right? It offers an incredible amount of customization options. And among those customization options is the ability to create your own flags and your own graves, and a lot of people did this back in the day. And you like created something like unique, right? And I wanted something unique. And I said to myself, what's more unique than a worm fucking a sheep as right? That's incredible, right? And in my like teenage brain, I'm like, this is the coolest thing.
This
possible.
is the
So my team
is
name
the height of humor.
and sheep with a grave of the worm hitting with a sheep.
I didn't know that you were Welsh. But yeah. No.
My granddad was Welsh.
Oh, yeah.
I am actually, I think about 25% Welsh. So I've got it in me.
Okay.
So you're only 25% deep. Right. What do you personally feel is the most skillful part of Worms Armageddon?
Are you talking like schemes? Or are we talking like
whatever you want? Just whatever comes to mind.
I think roping has got one of the highest skill caps available just because of the timing. The time you need to put in to become a great roper. I think like even watching a lot of like Sir J lately in challenges, and seeing how he's performing, that's like some of the greatest roping I've ever seen here in 2024. It's like really incredible. I've seen Mablak and Static and like a lot of players like have good speed in the scheme, but like some of the stuff Sir J's doing is almost stuff I've never seen before in like TTRR. And the skill cap to even get to that point is incredible. If you were to ask me how many hours I've played like rope based schemes, I mean it'd be like, since 20 years ago, whatever, thousands of hours. Like I can't even imagine what kind of time you need to put in to get that good. So I would definitely say roping, really, at the end of the day. I think there's a lot of other really skill-based schemes where guys have like played an incredible amount of hours that have really high skill caps, like intermediate, elite, probably to a little bit lesser of an extent, even chaos. But just with the roping, it's almost boundless, really, because you can always get faster, shorter rope moves that can bring you around. I mean, you look at like TA rope, like tool-assisted rope, and it's just insane. And theoretically, a person could get closer and closer to perfection with better timing, better tapping. So I'm going to say rope, at the end of the day, because of the way the engine is and the way you can get more speed with greater expertise, control of the physical part of it. So yeah, that would be my answer at the end of the day. But it's a complicated question, really. There's a lot of ways or metrics really to measure it.
Yeah.
Right, the votes are in, but it's actually a draw between 4 different schemes. So, Roper, Team 17, Battle Race, or Hysteria. So, since Walrus is the challenger, you can pick from one of those. So, Roper, Team 17, Battle Race, or Hysteria.
The most watchable is probably Roper, so let's do that.
Okay, dokie. I will host, and give me a second.
All
What's
right.
your Drake, please? So yeah, next question. Mablak, while I host.
Oh. Yeah, let's see. All right, how about this? What is your favorite scheme, and has that changed over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed over the years. I think, honestly, at the end of the day, my
Game
favorite
is up.
is Battle Race. And I think it's mostly always been.
Oh, we've got a little bit of lag again. Discord is
I joined the game.
having a hiccup.
Things froze a little.
I think that overall, it has been Battle Race. I always liked the maps that were made for it. I played Battle Race in Worms too. There was like really rudimentary like Battle Race maps people would make, but these like obstacle courses and like jumping your way through it, and it was just always my favorite. And there'd be like these large Battle Race games hosted where it was like 5-6 players playing, and it just got real chaotic, and I always loved it.
Battle Race is amazing. I think like sort of the original Battle Races, they'd be more like you actually battle more, whereas like now it's more like just beat it as fast as you can. It's more about like doing the challenges.
Right.
It used to be a little more about like pushing your opponent back, being a real like dick, and if you get ahead of the pack, you can like actually start to win. But Battle Race it's a really underrated scheme. It always has been, because it takes a lot of skill and patience, and you're also kind of just like walking most of the time, which some people don't want to deal with. But getting those jumps precisely is like such a huge skill. Because you sort of like get a sixth sense for like, can I make this jump or not? Like you can sort of like feel what parts of the worm are going to be sticky and actually like, attached to the corner. Okay, all right, so we're starting Roper.
Right. I like had to like readjust my space. I had no idea this was coming. This was like kind of sprung.
Yeah. Well, I'm on my good setup, so like I don't have any issues on my end, but it's important to note if someone isn't on their good keyboard and stuff, then roping is hard. Oh wait, I just asked that one.
It's funny. I came back for a short time in 2010.
Sorry, hold up. My microphone is muted, so I'll ask that again so they know what the question is. What was your favourite era of Worms Armageddon in terms of leagues? Was it Wackle, CL2K, First Blood, or TUS, or whatever else?
I wasn't around for First Blood. I think honestly, like I came back and in 2010, and that was my first introduction to TUS, right? And I was like, oh, okay, cool, TUS is here, and I was like really wrapped up in these, like the older time that I played, and the players that I remembered, and I was like, TUS is not quite, the the same or as good as these older players at these older times. Like, and I thought like CL2K, WACL, that was the best time. But over time, I just realized that like the Worms had just advanced. Like people just gotten better at everything.
It's true.
TUS, honestly, is by far the best Worm site that's ever been created. Like, the best players, the best league, right? Monkey Island's design and support of the Worms community is absolutely unmatched. Like, none of these other places really had that. Like, CL2K had, like, its own cool bits, but the interactivity of, like, what Monkey Island designed and what was possible on the site, like it was its own thing almost.
There's so many features. It's pretty insane. And I know he's like sort of doing an update to sort of clean up the site a little bit, just because it needs to be a little less like messy. But in terms of features and like just longevity and his commitment to it, it's been really insane and way better than any other league, I would say. Although I do have fond memories of like some of the other leagues, but
for sure, yeah.
Yeah. It's
but
more,
at the end of the day, it's more like nostalgic memories than like actually like what the league supports and allows. And
because it's like TOS has cups, they have challenges, they have like a map database. It's no other site has really quite done that. There've just usually been a bunch of other sites that combined add up to all of that, because we used to have like, you know, you go to blamethepixel.com for like maps and stuff, which is now closed, but it was a great resource for
Bloopy's classic site. Was it Bloopy that did Blame the Pixel? That was a great site.
I'm sure it was someone else that started it, but he was a part of the administration or something, if I'm not mistaken. KRD will know. So, Matt, I suppose I'll ask the question since he's roping. Did you have any rivalries or people you really wanted to beat, either in clanners or singles or challenges or whatever?
God, yeah. Absolutely, like so many rivalries. There were just over time. We talked a little bit about Brazilian Soul in the clan, and that was like a rivalry, like any of the guys that would have been in that clan at that particular time. But overall, just like a lot of players that I grew to dislike their play style or the way they played. I think maybe Chelsea at different times
is that partly due to like shit talking though? Is that part of the rivalry?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think it all becomes or players that are like similarly skilled in different schemes.
Relative.
That you, like, consistently that you really want to beat. I think the Ren, I loved playing. He was like really good at like artillery schemes and like had a really similar skill set as me at the time that we played. And he loved like talking shit, and so so he'd get me going, and I tried to like him as much as possible. So we love beating the hell out of each other. So, but yeah, a lot of rivalries over time. I probably can't even remember all of them, at the end of the day as time goes on. But yeah, definitely. And I definitely, a lot of them were probably really like sophomoric rivalries, from like just teenager and like just being like, yeah, you suck. No, you suck more, or something like to that extent. But yeah, there's I probably remember most of them fondly now. They're probably pretty intense at that particular time. But I think, there's definitely those people that just like rubbed me the wrong way for whatever reason.
I mean, like, I feel like I didn't have too many rivalries myself, but I mean, there were a lot of people that I wanted to like impress. I guess that was my thing personally, like people like ropers like Pure, Anubis. It's like I wanted to impress these people, but I never quite felt like it was a rivalry. I guess that was sort of the way I felt about most of it.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you achieved it.
I think too. It's like I don't think you talk nearly as much shit as I did too. I think
Yeah.
that's what creates these rivalries a lot of the time. Like I've always been kind of a little bit more of like a shit talker, and I think
You feed the flames.
What creates the rivalries a lot of the time.
So quick fire question. Answer this quickly. Would you rather only ever play Mole Shopper or never play Worms Armageddon again?
I think I quit. I call it a career. It's I've played
Correct answer.
I've played a lot of Worms.
Sorry, Salo.
I know by this point what I like and what I don't like, and Mole Shopper does not fit my arousal template one bit.
I would quit, but I do see some of the skill in Mole Shopper. It's just that I'm not really that inclined to play it.
Exactly. No. I'm willing to admit, like it's definitely a skill-based game.
Oh yeah.
Not my skill-based game, you know.
I think it's very similar to Team 17 in terms of the skill base and stuff. So, if there was one player you could bring back to the game, who would it be and why?
One player that I could bring back to the game.
You can also bring them back from the dead if you want.
Resurrect them?
Yeah.
I like that. That's very interesting when you put it that way. Who would I bring back? Well, really, honestly, it's probably not someone that would have been like just a really good player, you know, like you could say like maybe like, you know, one of the really successful players like Random or something like that. But
Oh, you've cut off again. Hold on. You'll need to repeat that again whenever you come back. Right,
so,
we're back.
You know, someone like Q Shark, perhaps. You know,
Q Shark,
in that mold.
'Cause I'm a noob. Oh yes, I am. Oh, I'm a noob.
Or someone like that. I mean,
He's amazing.
like, honestly, my opinion is if we end up losing someone like Monkey Island, that would be the most significant.
Oh, that would be devastating. So devastating it literally froze the stream for a second.
Yeah, I'd probably also bring back Q for sure. Although, like, there's a lot of Wormers. There's a long list. This is the tough part.
So, Walrus, what is your favourite Worms achievement, or what are you most proud of that you have achieved in the game?
That's like a tough one. I'd like to say just like, I mean, if people were to like remember me, it would be that I would hope it'd be like that I was pretty. I mean, I was never a legend at any one good scheme, but I was pretty good at most of them. Because I'm a scheme connoisseur at the end of the day, you know.
Oh yeah.
And I played a lot of different stuff over time. Got good at a lot of different schemes. I was never. I mean, if I would have like specialized myself more, maybe I could have been better at League or better at this or better at that. But you know, I think my achievement is probably like, you know, consistently winning at a lot of different things that I play, and having kind of like a wide kind of umbrella of expertise of the game.
Sorry, gotta concentrate.
So,
but I mean, specific. If you want to get like specific, I would say like in terms of League, it would be like I played 2 best of 5s with Dinah in the TUS playoffs, and I beat her twice, and she was like considered to be like one of the best players in the game.
She's good. She's also, I mean, she might be like the best female player too.
oh, without a doubt.
Like yeah.
At least achievement wise, we know. Like,
yeah.
Speaking of all round and stuff.
But like, if you just go to the Walrus's profile on TUS, he has won Hysteria Cups. He's won B&G Cups, Aerial Cups, which is sort of like Hysteria. You have like 3 seconds to move your worm and attack. There is a long list of accomplishments there, and also like just being first in all around in various seasons. Lots of stuff to look at.
I actually think, well, personally speaking, one of the things that I like about Walrus the most is the commentary that he does on streams. Actually, one of the biggest inspirations for me getting involved with competitive stuff myself, the Walrus, Dark One, Shy Guy, and those sort of guys, Dark One, etc. I think I already said to him, but he's so good, he deserves twice anyway. But yeah,
yeah, like that was so cool when the like the commentary stuff and like the Twitch stuff. Like when we first did, I forget what it was. It was probably let me see, 2015 maybe, is when Dark One and I started doing like the intermediate CWA streams, and I remember having a lot of fun with those.
Oh yeah.
Those were awesome. Like just being able to like watch these games, break them down, like commentate on them, bring that to a wider audience. That was great, you know. And I always loved commentating on games. Like I've always enjoyed watching Worms as much as I enjoyed playing it. Just see the potential of a lot of players and like their ability to do plays in certain situations. Like that was always a joy to me, for sure.
I think that's part of your legacy too. Like you've been like an amazing commentator for like all these Worms matches. Yeah, I don't think many people can do it better. Granted, it's a short list, but you do it really well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So, what do you love most about playing Worms Armageddon competitively, and what keeps you motivated to continue competing?
To me, the thing that really gets me is not necessarily beating players at my best games, but beating players at their best. That's what keeps me going. Playing these players that are really good at their respective games. Got a really good elite player, a really good intermediate player.
There's the grave.
GG.
And there it goes, a game with many missed opportunities.
So we've still got plenty of time, so pick another scheme out of those that were voted. So we've got Hysteria, Battle Race, or what was the other one? No. What was it? What was the other one again? Hysteria. So Hysteria, Battle Race, or... What was the other one? Hysteria...
I don't remember. I know Battle Race.
Team 17, Hysteria, or Battle Race?
Battle Race is pretty long. Probably Hysteria out of those because it's the shortest. And,
okay.
Like the Team 17, I could just see me and Mablak like at the top of the screen, like with the water slowly rising.
40 minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes in. Exactly. I haven't actually played a roper in a while, but I barely... That was a close one.
Yeah, I biffed it at the very end too. I like an opportunity where I just like shadowed myself into the ground.
Yeah.
Stole defeat from the jaws of victory.
Oh man.
Yep.
So, can you share any advice for aspiring players looking to improve their skills?
Yeah, I think I think there's a certain amount of, and I've heard this like talked about in other games too. Like this idea of like ladder anxiety of like playing in a like competitive game, an elite game, and being like too anxious to do it. And I would say to like people just like try out playing some of these like competitive schemes. Like sure you're gonna lose a lot, but like by losing in Worms, like it taught me so much about how to play this game. I learned more by losing than I ever did by winning at the end of the day. You know, so I would just say like stick with it. Play a lot of different schemes. Like try and learn more different schemes. Like, find out what you really like in this game, because like the ultimate part about this game is that it is like they created it, but it's like more of like a blank canvas, you know. Players have like customized these different schemes. Like there's so many different ways to play this game at the end of the day. And just try out, see what you like, you know. You'll find out what you don't like, i.e. Mole Shopper, you know. You'll find out what you like. But there's a lot of like, and if you don't like anything out there, create something you like. Like that's the beauty of Worms. Like that I don't think they had the idea when they created this game that so much could be spawned from it. And I think that stuff is mostly born out of the imaginations of the people that have played this game over time, you know? Like that's the cool part about Worms Armageddon. It's like so much of this stuff is like just the brainchild of these people that played it.
So
Dude,
after...
well said, man. Oh, whoops.
That's all right, when you go. Go do.
Oh no, I just messed up my turn because I was like talking. Yeah. Dude, yeah, it's totally true. Like people should just play. Like the first time I ever played a league, I was like, I don't know how to play leagues. I don't know if I can even play strategic schemes. But now, like, I really like strategic stuff. Like the game basically taught me, like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at like strategery, and I wouldn't have ever thought that because I also started. Yeah,
Well,
I started the
think
game as a roper and like learned strategic stuff way later.
See, I'm kind of the same.
Like you started out your probably Worms career in a lot of the same way I did. Like we both started out as like ropers, and then it became like a completely different thing over time. You know?
Exactly.
That's we all have that in common. Yeah. So
I think that's because it's like I think to be like a strategic person, it's like you would know if you're strategic if you had like played chess before and gotten good at that. But like aside from that, I don't know how you would know, right?
I used to play a lot of chess in school. I was quite successful, but I don't know, once I got to a certain age, because I used to go playing darts and stuff with my dad, because my dad played with Scotland, and I got to meet some of the world professionals and play darts with like Andy Fordham, Martin Adams and stuff like that. So I was always really into playing pool and darts and dominoes and stuff like that. So that's how that's probably one of the reasons why I got really into B&G, was because I really liked angles from playing pool and accuracy from playing darts.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like actually, yeah. Like there's a big crossover between like bar sports, like darts and pool and stuff, and like B&G. I don't know why that is. It's just like angles and
and whatnot.
So Walrus, after all these years, 20 plus years of playing against the best, and yourself being well known for being one of the best all-rounders, do you feel like you keep improving at the game, or do you feel like there's ever a barrier?
No, I think I constantly improve for sure. Like I said, there's just always new ways to play this game. Like as long as you play, you see something, and I think we all kind of feel that way over time. It's like, oh, I didn't see that. Okay, I can do that, right? That's interesting right there. So I think there's always like room for improvement, and I think like over time I've picked up a lot of these like other schemes that like initially, like to be honest, like BNG was something that really wasn't on my radar for so many years. Like, and I never played. Or I didn't feel like I was super interested in. I was like, oh, these BNG nerds, they're so stupid. Like, you know, what a boring game type. But then you like.
Do you know what's funny, Walrus? Like, me and you have that in common.
Oh, okay, all right.
We both started absolutely. We started as ropers. We hated B&G, and then we both turned out to be two of the most well-known B&G players of all time. You as well, Mablak. Funnily enough.
I mean, like, Same. It's like, yeah, I also had a period where I was like, I like BNG, but I don't like love it. But then I started to learn how to like Notch, and I was like, okay, I like it more now that it's more like predictable and
Because it's easier now.
it's easy. I mean, yeah. I guess I realized I kind of like these like systematizing of things, and it's kind of fun. But for anyone who doesn't know, notching is well, my definition is like you know your exact angle before you shoot, by counting, like by figuring out just where your worm position is at.
Yeah, we really kind of screwed up the terms for that, because a lot of people confuse it, and like I've started calling notching counting, and notching is just when I say someone's notching. So for those who don't know, a notch is the terminology for the smallest increment of movement possible with the cursor. So you literally just tap the button and it moves it one notch at a time. Now, notching is basically counting out those notches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and it always hits the exact same position just because the way the game works. And that's the thing that Mablak's talking about. But yeah, we used to call it notching for a long time, and it gets a bit confusing, but yeah.
Right. There is a very sort of cheaty way you can do it if you're actually like referencing like a table of numbers while you're playing, which is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That seems kind of whack to me.
So
did we get to our last question?
That is our last question now.
Ooh.
So, looking ahead, Walrus, what are your goals and aspirations within the Worms Armageddon competitive scene and Worms in general? And I suppose this goes for you as well, Mablak. You can both answer this.
I don't think I have any aspirations, really. I certainly love the game, you know. I'd love to see it like grow and continue to be like a strong, you know, community, strong player base at the end of the day. But for myself, it's like, you know, I just enjoy like playing these cups, playing some new, fresh schemes, playing, you know, some of the old schemes. I mean, I've loved the Academy of Artillery. That's been like a fun little way to like revisit some of these schemes, like Grenade Wars. No, but yeah, I don't know if there's any aspirations at this particular time for myself, you know. But it
was easier, like when we were younger, it was easier to like say a goal, like you know, get to the top of CL2K or something.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, if anybody in the chat has any more questions, we really do finish the stream at 9 PM GMT, but we're just going to wait until the end of this game. So if you have anything you'd like to ask Walrus, go ahead in the chat and we'll go ahead and ask.
I actually, what would have really warmed my heart is if Sala was here right now and heard us talking about mole right now. That'd be hilarious.
I feel like he has a notification bell anytime somebody says mole. There he is. Oh, nice shot. I feel like petrol is kind of bullshit in Hysteria. Don't we have a version where there's like not infinite?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
Oh. Right. So I hope everybody's enjoyed the stream today, and yeah, we will have the next episode of the CWA podcast during the last weekend of March. We do actually know who the next guest is going to be, but we're not going to announce it until we actually have the exact day and time sorted. So, yeah. Trust me though, it's going to be a really good one.
Oh yeah.
Really good.
You're going to want to stay tuned. And I should also mention the tutorial that you saw today. I'm going to put that up on my channel in just a little bit. I got to make sure to put that beefy leg worm in the thumbnail.
Don't skip leg day.
Love that. That was certainly classic.
I think I had that image in my head for a long time, and I was like,
So,
I need to make it.
Rocket has a question. Any ideas about whether small clans is a good idea? Should people quit big inactive clans and join small ones to compete? We're looking at you,
I think so.
Gregor.
That's a
I
good
mean,
question. Go ahead.
There's kind
Kyle.
of only small clans right now, but I mean, I would say like, yeah, because like a lot of being in a clan is like friendship and just finding people that you like to be around. So like anybody that you like playing with, you should just make a clan and maybe like play an occasional clanner and just see where it goes. Like that's it was more appealing back in the day when there were like more clans and clan league activity was like higher, but it's still a lot of fun. And I totally encourage anybody to like just start a clan or just just play, because it's a great way to just play 2v2s.
You've actually just reminded me, if whoever was here at the start of the show today, we did mention the new league that's starting up with the free schemes, and the playoff money is for singles only. However, if clanner activity gets big enough and this thing really grows, we will eventually have prizes for that as well. So, yeah.
Well, and KOD asked in the chat what the perfect Worms League would look like.
Who asked that? I never saw that, sorry.
Yeah, and I think, to be perfectly honest, I think it's TUFs. I mean, it kind of has like evolved from this like ragtag league into this like integration. I think Monkey Island's only put in more time to make it better, to add more features, interactivity. The website's very like 2008 still,
Oh, actually, since we're talking about that, Monkey Island is currently working on a massive update, a complete overhaul to the entire thing with new features. He's also working on a TUS mobile app as well. So over the next year or two, very exciting things are happening, because Mablak, if you'd like to take a few minutes to talk about GDQ and ADGDQ, I'm messing up these syllables, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
No, that's good stuff. I'd love to hear more about it. I mean, Map's doing some great stuff over there. I love following up and watching you play.
So
I mean, yeah, for like GDQ stuff, I mean, there's not that much to talk about. It's like me and Ruffled Bricks have been applying to a lot of marathons. Sometimes he'll be in GDQ, sometimes he'll be in like ESA. But like I was in Worms Reloaded at Amazing Games Done Quick. It was like a little over a month ago. I'm trying to run almost every Worms game at this point, but I mean, like the important thing though is that if anybody wants to run the game, we've actually written guides for like Worms Armageddon and Worms 2 and World Party and Reloaded. And you can just like go into our Discord and like read the guides, and it's surprisingly not as hard to pick up as you might think. Especially, I mean, if you're a good player too, it's like even easier.
Yeah.
But I mean that's been the only news. I don't know if there's any marathons for Worms on the horizon right now, but there's gonna be more. There's like Indie-thon. There's a cool marathon called Northwest Speed Fest, which I also did Worms Reloaded in earlier this year. I hope that gets bigger, because like a lot of Games Done Quick is like on the East Coast. That is a lot of travel time. Like we need more stuff on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I know Squirminator has started some like stuff in LA, some like local Worms.
Oh my
Worms
God!
matches.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm like, that's wild. It's a LAN event, right?
I mean, that's what I heard. Yeah, I don't know exactly what he's doing with that. I hope there's some footage somewhere, because I haven't actually seen what's been going on with that.
I mean, I would personally love to do like a LAN event, but this is Scotland, and I feel like I'm actually the only Scottish player, at least in the competitive scene. The only other Scottish player I know is Seagar, And, well, I never ever see him in any sort of competitive thing. So,
I might have mentioned I'm like 1/8 Scottish.
that's why you're the best in the world. See? You need that little bit of Scottish inside you.
You need at least, there's a one drop rule. 1 drop of Scottish blood. Yeah.
I always felt like I play a little better with the freedom the kilt provides. You know, I've always felt
so you can get that balls deep in sheep and let your balls breathe. Right, we're going to have to wrap things up. We're running a few minutes over, but absolutely proud of what we've all accomplished here today as a team, and I really, really hope you all enjoyed this and you look forward to the next episode. And thank you so much, Walrus, for giving us your time. And
for sure. And I just wanted to say one thing. It's like, it's there's a lot of different games out there, right? That people have like played over time. A lot of games that are like still like popular in contemporary times. But I just love Worms Armageddon. It's great. Like it just keeps on providing like new things over all these years. I think it's a testament to the game that we're all here. You know, we're 99. It's just about like the 25th anniversary. Essentially, we're still like talking about this game. Like this game still has a community. And people sometimes are like, "Oh, the community's small." Yeah, it's 25 years later. You know, like of course, the community's small. It's like it's amazing. There's still people playing this game 25 years later. You know,
that's actually right. One reason why I made this podcast as well as the 25th anniversary. But KRD just came up with something interesting, and we could actually do this on the spot, but the next podcast should be Walrus versus Mab rap battle, but do it in Welsh and Scottish accents, and I can basically do the beatboxing.
Oh my god. I can only white person rap. That's all I can do.
Your rap's going to be like, "Can you kick it? Yes, you can. Can you kick it? Yes, you can." With your steroid leg.
I mean, I could do some boom bop stuff, but that's about it. I don't know. Can't do this modern, you know. I can't do those bars.
I can flow pretty well, but my Scottish accents are just horrendously, famously bad for rapping.
Bad for rapping?
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's seriously bad. I actually made, well, you know I do music production. When I was in school, I made the most embarrassing thing ever that came back. I made this rap, something like, "You're a Gareth Gates wannabe, aim trajectory, fire artillery," and it was absolutely so embarrassing, and like the whole school just absolutely murdered me for it.
Oh my god.
Thankfully, that was before the days of YouTube, so yeah.
At least they didn't like embarrass you on a national level and like upload it.
More in your rap, Kimito. Artillery. Yarg.
Oh my god.
Right, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I suppose that's going to be adios, but thank you everybody, it's been a pleasure and a privilege. So yeah, have a good night everybody, and we'll see you all again next time.
Peace out.
Bye.